Like, share, subscribe, but with that being said, let's get started into the video. Okay, so the 2021 NBA Finals has concluded, and that resulted in the Bucks winning their first NBA championship in over 50 years, so I want to congratulate them first, as it was a long journey for them. And I want to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks' journey to get here in a separate video because I think there's just a lot to talk about that. I think it'd be cool to have it in a separate video rather than this being more of a reaction to the 2021 NBA Finals. And, before I go more into the Milwaukee Bucks, first I want to talk about the Phoenix Suns before I talk about the Milwaukee Bucks because I think people are overreacting. I think a lot of people are saying, "Oh, the Suns are not real contenders. Oh, the Suns, you know, Chris Paul's gonna leave. They're not gonna be good contenders next year. They're not gonna be good next year," which is just far from the truth. The fact that they made the finals for the first time since the 1990s, and they were able to do so after having a 10-year playoff drought. That's not done in NBA playoff history ever. I mean, that's just a feat that is never been done, and I think we gotta give him credit for that instead of disrespecting them. I think that's what a lot of people are doing. Now, quickly going to the Suns players. So first, we have to talk about Chris Paul. This was definitely, I think Chris Paul still has a chance to win a championship, obviously, but on this Phoenix Suns, this was definitely the biggest opportunity for him, especially when you had the Lakers injured and when you had the Nuggets injured, when you had the Clippers injured. I mean, every team they face in the West, let's not let's say it that they were injured. I would be lying to myself if I told you they had an easier path to the finals than many other teams. And the road was paved for them to win a championship. They just didn't complete the road. They didn't finish walking that road, and instead stopped in the middle of that road. Especially when Giannis was coming off a hyperextended knee. Now, granted, he played like prime Shaq anyways because he's Giannis, but still, you gotta believe if you're even though if you're a Phoenix Suns fan, you should be happy, but you gotta be like, damn, this was like what once once in a lifetime opportunity for them because I don't know if they're going to be able to get back to the finals. I mean, it's possible they'll be a contender next year, but I don't know if they're better than the Lakers, the Nuggets, the Clippers, although they're not going to have Kawhi next year for most of the season. But still, there's the Warriors. If they get another star, they're going to be really good. So I definitely think this was a missed opportunity for them. But nonetheless, still a great playoff run. Incredible that the Phoenix Suns were able to even come this far despite teams getting injured. But still, kind of a missed opportunity by the Phoenix Suns. And then, like I said, Chris Paul, you know, he really needed this ring because now it's going to be tough to win a championship if it's not on the Phoenix Suns, right? So I think he's going to re-sign with them in the offseason. I'll have a whole Suns video detailing their offseason, but it gets pretty interesting now because Chris Paul is going to want to get a ring soon, and I don't think he's going to be able to do on the Phoenix Suns. He could be able to, but this is a huge missed opportunity for him. And then we got Devin Booker. D Book, one of the more inconsistent players in the playoffs. Obviously, for the most part, he's been good, but whether it be like his injury against the Clippers, like the Patrick Beverly and Devin Booker collision, maybe it was because of that. But for the most part, he's been mostly inconsistent. Like there are nights where he just drops 40, like it's nothing, and then there are nights where he drops like 20, which is okay, but still you wonder if he can consistently drop at least 30 a night. And, in game in the game 6, I believe, he did not perform to what his expectations were. Obviously, he dropped 40 twice before that, but in the closing game, it's not a good look to just drop 90 points. But again, for a guy who is in his first playoff series, I think this was still a great run from Devin Booker. And then we look at the third guy, DeAndre Ayton, on this team. He really proved himself that he is a max contract worthy player. Um, yes, it might be a little bit of recency bias, but DeAndre Ayton really showed his ability to. Maybe he's not the best perimeter defender, but still, for a center, very elite on guarding the perimeter and a very great paint protector. Unfortunately, he wasn't really able to stop Giannis, but let's be honest, there's not a single player in this league that can stop Giannis when he is at full strength. So, I that's what I have to say about DeAndre Ayton. Uh, Honestly, I couldn't really ask for him more. I think he's gonna has a lot of room to grow, and I think he's only gonna get better from here. Then more of like the role players on this team. You got Mikal Bridges. You know, he was phenomenal. Nonetheless, great defender. I think he'll make some all defensive teams later in his career. But for his first playoff series, again, very very good. Uh, he's probably I can't really think of anybody better, but I think right now he might be the best 3 and D guy in terms of like role players. And that is going to be huge for the Suns moving forward. He's going to be a critical part of their team, and I think he's just phenomenal defensively and 3-point shooting wise. Pretty good. He did all you could ask for from a guy like Mikal Bridges. Jay Crowder, very inconsistent, but when his shots were dropping, it would like you could feel his impact. And defensively, he was pretty good in guarding forwards against the Milwaukee Bucks. So props to him. Second straight finals appearance. Unfortunately, once again, he just fell up short. And then you got, other players. Cameron Payne, although in the finals, due to some injuries, I don't know. I feel like he wasn't that healthy in the finals, but um, for the most part, was great in the playoffs. But when he was completely healthy, and I do think it's impressive for a guy who went from being one of the worst players in the league to now being a guy who probably is going to get the mid-level exception in free agency. That is an incredible story for Cameron Payne. I'm so happy for him. Dario Saric and Torrey Craig, unfortunately, they had to get injured, but still they were critical parts to this team during the season and when they were healthy in the playoffs. And last but not least, Monty Williams, such a great coach. For him to take this Phoenix Suns team to a team that was a laughingstock, missed the playoffs for a decade, 10 years in a row that they missed the playoffs, and for him to take this team to the NBA Finals is such an inspiring story. One of the nicest people on this planet, one of the best basketball minds, one of the best people in the NBA in terms of kindness. He really showed that when he went to the Bucks locker room while they were celebrating after winning a championship. They're cheering, they're throwing champagne. They're really, really happy. And then Monty Williams has the guts to go ahead and congratulate the Milwaukee Bucks and for him to be able to play against them. And that's just something I've never seen from a coach, is why I really respect him a lot. And so, you know, congratulations to Monty Williams for making the finals and for the Phoenix Suns for making this impressive run. Again, it's unfortunate that the run had to be, they had to end like this because again, I was rooting for both teams. I really liked both teams. So again, I'm really happy, nonetheless, for the Phoenix Suns and for Monty Williams for overachieving in this playoffs. But yeah, let's get into the Milwaukee Bucks. Next, I'm now talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. I obviously first have to start off with Giannis Antetokounmpo. He is the best player in the world. He is a top 20 player of all time. He, in my opinion, is the second greatest power forward of all time, but is probably at least a top 5, if not top 3, power forward of all time. And for him to go from a raw project like what was it, like 8 years ago, 7 to 8 years ago, or 6 years? I don't know how long it is, but for him to go from that to a Finals MVP, a two-time MVP, a Defensive Player of the Year, All-Star Game MVP, multiple All-Defensive selections, multiple NBA selections. I believe he made a Rookie of the Year team. I'm not sure about that. Most Improved Player. For him to do this already at the age of 26, and knowing that this guy has about at least 7 years of his prime, uh, there's no limit for how good Giannis can be, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he's a top 10 player of all time at the end of his career, because with the pace he's going at, he is probably going to finish as good as Shaq, if not better. They're so similar, and I think, uh, you know, I'm really happy for Giannis, and because he's one of my favorite players, one of the more nicer players in the league. He's so humble. He is competitive. He will not work out with players in the off season, and because he has that Mamba mentality. He has that old school type of mentality. And I think that really paid him off, as he got one of the more one of the more, I guess, rewarding, deserving championships. One of the more satisfying. That's the word. Championships ever, and Giannis is definitely at the center of that. So, for him to be a great defensive player this whole playoffs consistently, for him to be a bucket in the finals, dropping back-to-back 40-point games, dropping a 50-point game in the closer, and his passing was phenomenal. And in Game 6, he was 7 for 19 from the free throw line. If Giannis can make his free throws, he might be able to average 35 points per game, and I'm being hella serious there. So it's incredible what he's able to be done, and I'm so happy. Even as a Rockets fan, I've never been this happy by by a team other than the Rockets winning a championship. So it's very nice to see the Bucks win. They deserved it, especially Giannis, for what he did for this team and the city. People are questioning whether he should re-sign with them, and that was one of his best decisions of his life, to re-sign with the Milwaukee Bucks, because in the end of the day, he won a championship for the team that drafted him, and that's not something many players or many greats can say. So amazing story. Now moving on to Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton is was one of the most disrespected secondary options. Although he can be very inconsistent, many people did not consider him a second option on a championship team, and he proved everybody wrong in these finals by dropping a 40 bomb and being a nice offensive player. Yes, he wasn't the most consistent, but you could rely on him at the very end of the games to be the closer for Milwaukee, and I think he deserves credit for that. Now, he was getting too much credit, like sometimes during the series or before the series, that people were calling him the Batman, which I think is ridiculous, but still. Nonetheless, Chris Middleton is one of the best secondary options in the league, and I think this finals hopefully can make a statement for his name as one of the best secondary options in the entire league. So moving on to Drew Holiday. Now, Drew Holiday, again, offensively very inconsistent. Sometimes he looked like Eric Bledsoe, which was very concerning, considering that Milwaukee basically gave up their future, other than Giannis, of course. But like, potentially, if Giannis doesn't sign that supermax extension, Milwaukee gave their future for Drew Holiday, and so for him to be Eric Bledsoe offensively is not ideal, of course, but defensively his impact was there. Now he probably has the case for the best perimeter defender in the league, although I still think that title is with Ben Simmons right now. I think Drew Holiday is right there. So because like he had many like signature steals, many clutch steals. Drew Holiday was important because he got to be that guy, that defensive anchor for this Milwaukee Bucks, even though Giannis was, in my opinion, the best defensive player on the perimeter. I think, Drew Holiday did a phenomenal job, especially guarding Devin Booker, which was key, which is why Devin Booker was going cold sometimes during the finals. And then moving on to the role players, Bobby Portis, great energy guy, really felt his impact when he was there again. The energy that he brings, the shooting, uh, and then, Brook Lopez, even though he didn't really play as much as he usually does because the Milwaukee Bucks went to more of a small ball lineup, but still, Brook Lopez, a good 3-point shooter, great defender, and, on the minutes he was playing, still very good for them. PJ Tucker, pretty underrated trade that was. Yes, PJ Tucker offensively is not the greatest, but defensively, his impact was there, and it gave them another guy in their rotation because they didn't have to start Pat Connaughton, which we will get into, and because losing Dante DiVincenzo, they needed another guy to fill in their rotation, so they could put Pat Connaughton off of the bench, and they did that with PJ Tucker. So I think great trade from the Milwaukee Bucks, and great by PJ Tucker. Definitely deserves this. One of the more hard-working players, and it's nice to see him win a ring, especially being a Rockets fan. And then finally, moving on to Pat Connaughton. He was. I didn't really think of him as much, but Pat Connaughton was in these playoffs really stepped it up in Dante DiVincenzo's absence and really filled the void that they were missing from Dante DiVincenzo. Good 3-point shooter. His hustle and energy was phenomenal, especially I believe it was games 1 and 2 when the Bucks were losing those badly. Pat Connaughton still had the energy, so really liked from him what he was able to do in the playoffs. And then finally move on to the last person, Mike Budenholzer. Now Mike Budenholzer has been disrespected, especially by me. But after this playoffs, I definitely think that we need to give credit to Mike Budenholzer as he is a champion now, and he actually adjusted this time. I know, it's crazy. He actually put a small ball lineup. He actually didn't put Giannis as the main ball handler at the top of the key. So it's nice to see Mike Budenholzer do that because I wanted Mike Budenholzer to win, but I wanted him to win the right way and wanted him to adjust. So it's nice to see that. But yeah, that concludes this video. I know this was a long one, but I want to talk about the NBA Finals. Next, we're going to go more into the offseason NBA draft, and I'll try to upload as much as I can before the NBA draft. That's the end of this video. Rocket Hoops out. Peace.